Hey, it's Coach Mack, playfastfootball.blogspot.com. All right, today we want to talk a little bit. About a rub concept, short yardage, or a two-point play. First, I just want to talk to everybody out there and say thanks for the guys that have been checking out the blog. We've been running for about 2 months now and have over 6,000 views. It's going really well, so I appreciate everybody checking in with us, and hopefully we're giving you some concepts that you guys can use. For me as a head football coach, one of the biggest pluses is when you can have former players come back and tell you that they'd like to coach football and they'd be interested in starting a career in coaching. And fortunate enough today, I'm going to have one of my former quarterbacks, Derek, go through a rub concept for a two-point play that he picked up while he was playing in college, and he's going to talk about it out of an empty set, 3x2 with the tight end, so 11 personnel. Empty set. He's going to go through it. He's going to go through all the routes, and then I'm just going to try and get in a little bit with him just to hit some of the finer points and see if we can talk about protection and hot reads and how we're going to declare the protection and who's going to run through, who's going to sit. So I'm going to turn it over to Derek right now. Derek's going to take you through the routes on the board.
Okay, basically what we have here is our mesh concept, and we have it for either a short yardage or we have it for a two-point play. You can use it for whichever one you like. We're going to start here on the outside. He's going to run a 5-yard shallow route, and he is going to stay on the move no matter what. He stays on the move. The tight end takes his outside release with eyes outside towards the corner. So his first step is here, looking outside, and if he sees the corner trailing the receiver, he is going to set a pick out here for this guy. So this will be your first initial rub or your pick for the shallow. If they see some type of zone and he's dropping back, or it's a cover 2 and he's not following, he will then take his route up and then head to the back pylon on a corner route. This guy is usually a tailback. You can set him out, whether it's two-point play or short yardage. Say if it's 3rd down and 3, he's going to aim for the sticks, looking back towards the quarterback for the ball in case it's hot. If it's a two-point play, he is aiming for the front pylon. And if he does not get the ball after his first 3 or 4 steps, he will turn it up and then wheel it to the back corner of the end zone. The slot receiver here, he is running the shallow route, and he is aiming 4 yards, never stopping. So this guy is at 4, this shallow is at 5, and the other outside guy, he's aiming for 6, and he's sitting down, and he's also looking for the second pick for this receiver. So if he sees anybody following, he will set the pick right here, allowing this receiver to get the ball free. And this is your number 1 target. You want to look for him first and hit him if you don't have any hots or anything like that. If you do get some type of zone, he will find a hole. Once he gets to the center and sees that no one is following, he will find a hole and look for the quarterback's eyes so he can get the ball.
Okay, couple important points here that Derek was talking about. Okay. Number 1, always keep the front side shallow cross on the move. That was the first thing he said. That's very important that you teach that kid. It's not like a traditional mesh concept where you're going to run through man, sit in the zone. This is a true, almost shallow cross. We need to get him across the field. He's primary on this side of the field. Okay? Your backside shallow from your number 2, all right? He's the underneath mesh player at 4. And again, this backside shallow will always work across the field the entire way. All right, so that if you get a zone concept, it's going to give you a back pylon, front pylon look, all right, to this backside if for whatever reason the quarterback didn't like his reads on the front side. If we're talking short yardage two-point play, this throw is either going to be made to the crosser, the flat, or the wheel. I don't think the quarterback is really ever going to get a chance to get back to the backside. But it's important that you understand that on the backside, if for whatever reason the quarterback has something, or it's a scramble situation, okay, you give something with spacing concepts, high-low to the quarterback on the backside, all right? Very important to understand that the tailback, all right, your number 3, he could be in the backfield. We've got it drawn up and empty. Very important to understand that he's got an initial hot check, all right? You notice right now we're in empty, we're releasing 5. If this is short yardage or two-point, you got to expect some type of possible 0, maybe you'll get a pressure. Now, if it's a two-point play and you're in empty, you might get a 7 across zone concept. So you got to be able to build in and handle all those things. So what I like here, what Derek's done with the flat route, is he's got this guy checking the quarterback for hots. Okay? Some teams will actually have the quarterback, I know in college, Derek's coaches had him actually say hot and yell hot, 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 and then choose his throw. I like built in with the two shallows, all right, with the shallow and the top side here. You also have in man concepts or maybe fire zone concepts, you've got an inside route with an outside route, so your quarterback has choices in the blitz game. Okay, what I also like with this flat wheel concept is if you were to get some kind of zone concept, we may be able to stretch 45 here to the flat and to the wheel depending on how they play the trip side of the coverage. All right, if they're playing some type of 2-read deal here with 1 and 2, and maybe this backside safety plays 3 vertical and 45 is the guy that leverages 3, well, when 3 crosses his face, if he swing deep a 3 crosses his face, we're going to get him to run and then maybe expand with the wheel. So now we open the backside shallow up, much like a triangle concept in the mesh game or in the 3-man snag. Now we're going to run 45 out of here to try and get the ball back to this shallow cross. Okay. I also like what Derek mentioned, that the far side crosser, he's always a sit-down guy. So if you get zones, he will find grass and take grass. Okay. But he's also sitting because he's the next and last rub for the man concept coming in underneath to get the ball to the primary that we're trying to get it to. Okay? So, because he always sits now, you do have a player finding grass and taking grass in a zone concept like the mesh concept. You just don't have 2 players doing it. Alright? You just have 1 guy. So this guy primarily is going to sit, find grass, okay? Find grass right here, and he's going to set the last pick. Now, obviously we're getting 5 out. If we're getting 5 out, we only have a 5-man protection. Okay, so I'll take you back the way I used to do it with Derek 6 or 7 years ago, and when he was quarterback in here, I would tell him, Derek, anytime we have a 5-man protection, okay, you've got to ID who you want the mic to be and where you want the offensive line to turn so that you can pick up the other 2 for hot. Now, if it's 5-man protection, I'm going to tell you that it's either of the 2 that we are hot reading off of. If it were a 6-man protection, and we were going to double read it back, I would tell you, Derek, it's both. So I think it's very important you understand when you're teaching your quarterbacks in protection, if we have a 5-man protection, I'm going to tell Derek either one of those guys makes us hot. If we have a 6-man protection, I'm going to tell Derek it takes both those guys to make it hot. Okay? So what we would do right now in this concept is we would probably identify 52. So Derek would come up on the ball, and Derek would say, hey, whatever our protection was, okay? If we were going Ralph Leroy, whatever our protection was, we want to tell the line to slide, okay? If we want them to half slide left, we would say, hey, Derek would come up and say, hey, Leroy 52, Leroy 52. Derek is identifying the 4 down and who he wants the mic to be for the offensive line. By doing that, he's declaring the 2 linebackers that he's going to throw hot off of. Okay, now when Derek was here playing for me in high school, we would always just turn and identify who I wanted Derek to identify as the mic. We didn't have 30 protections. When he got to college, he was able to come back and say, yeah, coach, it's crazy. We go with all these different protections. We full slide, we half slide, we double read, we free man out. You know, when you're playing quarterback every day in a college offense, and you're in an office and you got film, you have time to do that. Again, our blog and this website is about high school football. So if I bring Derek back 6 years ago, I would say, all right, Derek, look, we want to turn this and ID the backside inside linebacker. Okay, so Derek would say, yeah, coach, I got it. We're gonna Leroy 52. So we're gonna turn the protection. So our O-line, got that one, Derek? Our O-line, what we would do is first uncovered player on the man side starts to turn. So the tackles generally, in even or odd fronts, he's going to be covered here. All right, so he's man on. Well, if the guard has a 1 technique, he is going to start to turn, and we're actually going to get a 4-man zone side here. Okay? So now these 4, all right, and our 5 linemen know that we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Derek ID'd 52, so that's our 4 down in our mic. Okay? Remember when talking protection and concepts, all right, and when I would teach Derek, I'd always tell Derek, look, you ID who you want the mic to be. The mic is not the mic linebacker in defense. Sometimes I hear guys talk about protection and they say 4 down in the mic. Okay? Well, if we were getting some type of 4-3 look, okay, all right, and I had Derek, we were getting some type of 4-3 look like this, all right, let's just say we weren't in empty, maybe we were in 2x2, okay, and I said, Derek, all right, we want to turn it all the way back to the outside linebacker. Right there, Derek, if I want to turn it left, who are we going to ID?
55.
All right, so he IDs 55. Derek is telling the offensive line who he wants the Mike to be. We're not IDing 52 because he plays Mike in that defense. We're IDing who we want the Mike to be so that the O-line knows they got the 4 down and the ID'd Mike back. Okay, so it's very important that you understand that. Now, we don't have sight adjusts on the backside. Okay, I never gave Derek in high school the option to sight adjust backside. So we always had to turn our protection and ID the backside linebacker. As Derek came back from college, he'd come in and say, yeah, coach, you know, if we know we're getting a spin in coverage or if we know we're getting a roll, we can sight adjust the backside. I can throw the backside slant or I can throw the backside bang 8 post. Okay? Well, you got to remember, we're talking about high school football. So when I had Derek, it was very simple. All right, Derek, any 4-3 concepts, we want to ID all the way back to the outside. Okay? So he would know, he would ID back to 55. Now, let's say we got a 3-4 concept. Okay? What I would always have Derek do is I would have Derek identify the 2 that he wanted to read. He knows, okay, he knows who he wants to read. All right? So what he would do for his linemen and his backs, if we were using backs in protection, okay, if we got some type of 3-4 deal here, all right, now maybe we had 42 and 55 here, all right, 54 and 56, all right, and now we've got some type of 3-4 deal, okay? If you're going 3x2 empty with a tight end, you're probably going to get a 9 technique, whatever, it really doesn't matter for us. We know we're going to half slide the protection. First uncovered man is going to turn, okay? First uncovered man is going to turn. So that guard is going to turn the protection back. All right? So when I would teach Derek, I'd say, all right, Derek, look, you got play side inside to outside. So right now, if Derek came up to the ball, all right, playing quarterback, Derek, who would you tell right now, what 2 are you responsible for?
55 and 42.
So Derek comes up to the ball, he tells, hey, 55-42, 55-42, and he points to the 2 that he's reading to. We would also have him do it on run game. Okay? So what I would do is I would tell Derek who I wanted to ID as the Mike linebacker. And then the communication part of it, when we got on the field, Derek would ID who he was responsible for. That made it easier for us, for our centers, all right, and our offensive linemen. Derek told you who he was going to take care of. That means we had everything else. So we were big on big, all right, here. First uncovered, started to turn. So the line against the 3-4, the line had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Derek had 6 and 7. So in my quarterback meetings with Derek, I would tell him how we're going to ID who we want the Mike linebacker to be. But then when we got on the field, okay, I would keep that between me, Derek, and the quarterbacks. When we got on the field, what Derek would do is he would come out and ID who he was responsible for. Okay? That would let our linemen know, or our backs know, that they were responsible for everything else. Derek's got these 2 in the hot game. We always built our hots into our receiver routes because I never wanted these wideouts in high school, all right, to be reliable or at least know enough about the blitz game. All they had to understand was the routes they were running and which routes had initial hot reads. So if we're running a shallow cross, the shallow is going to have an initial hot. Get your eyes on Derek right now with the back on the swing or the flare or the flat route. Okay? What I had a hard time with in high school was trying to teach these slot or wideouts, hey, look, if you get a blitz from either one of these 2 in a 5-man protection, it's hot. In a 6-man protection, I didn't want to teach that to my wideouts. They never invested as much time as Derek did. So when I had Derek in my office all year round, okay, he'd come and eat lunch in here and we'd stay in here, I would talk to him about those things and let him know where his hot throws were, but his hot throws were always built into the concept. Okay? So again, me and Derek and the quarterbacks, and we would talk about IDing the Mike. But when we got on the field with our other kids, I would actually just tell Derek, now listen, I want you to identify who you're responsible for. What that'll do is that'll let the offensive line know who they're responsible for. And then what Derek would do is on run game, he'd come out and do the same thing. He'd come out and he'd say, hey, Mike 54, Mike 54. All right, these 2 right here, these 2 right here. He would point and identify who so that in a run game, we didn't get caught. All right, so there you have it. You've got rub concept, all right, with the shallow cross, mesh concept, trying to get a man route across the field, primary backside number 1. You've got the flat wheel here. You've got hot built in. I think you've got hot built in with your 2 inside crossers. You've got nice depths here with 4, 5, and 6. Trying to set at least 2, almost 3 rubs if you look at it, because you get an initial rub from the flat route. If you get a trail man, he's going to set the pick here. If it's no man, he's going to go to the backside pylon. You get another with the 4-yard under mesh, you're getting a rub, and then you're getting another one with the 6-yard over the top mesh. Okay? Great concept, short yardage. If you're one of those teams that likes to have a 2-point play every week, I suggest that you keep that as your 2-point play. You rep it out with your quarterbacks. Give them man, give them zone, give them blitzes that are accounted for, give them blitzes that are unaccounted for. Okay? And again, have something in place, understand why you're running the play, know why you like to run the play. Okay? Hopefully, if you're in coaching long enough, I've been doing it 15 years in high school now. All right, one day I'm either going to work for Derek or hopefully he comes back and works for me. I have a former player on my staff right now coaching with me. To me, that's the ultimate compliment as a coach. Okay? Get your kids back to want to coach. Get your kids back to understand and love the game of football. Derek, I appreciate it as always, my man. All right, you guys take care. Remember, if you don't play fast, you won't play well.